It's autumn, it's cold, it's raining, and I went for a walk. For a lot of people, the fall weather means a nice chill in the air and leaves changing color. But if you're in Toronto, you know that we don't autumn. From now until April, it's just gonna be cold and gloomy. But that didn't stop me from getting out and finding something to draw. I stumbled upon this tree that has a ton of character. The leaves have already fully turned and they're all over the ground. Overall, it is the perfect scene for me to show you my process of drawing autumn trees. In general, trees can be super tricky to draw. That is why I broke this process down into 3 simple, easy to follow steps. So in about 10 minutes, you'll be drawing stunningly vibrant autumn trees like the future artist you are. Alright, let's get started. The first step is to create the energy of your sketch. We're gonna do this by using your colors to loosely lay down the values. Now this is how you're gonna create the feel and the emotion of your drawing. When using markers or watercolors, you want to color from light to dark. This means you'll have to do a little bit of forward thinking to sort out where your highlights will go and where your shadows will fall. For this first part, I'll use the lightest yellow I have to establish the shape of the top of the tree. Don't be afraid to exaggerate your colors. Use as many layers and shades of the same color as you can. This adds depth and texture. Use dashes to draw the branches in between and around the leaves. That way it looks like a part of the tree and not just on top of it. Since it's a pretty overcast day, I get to decide where my shadows will go. So I'll use my dark orange to put them at the bottom of the tree, and I'll add a little bit to the top here to add some contrast. And I'm just adding a little bit more on the inside to add some texture. I'll add some dots here to show the falling leaves, and now I'm just going to use this glazing technique to add the shadows and fill up some of that white space. Remember, try not to be too rigid. Just use dots and dashes and a little bit of lines here or there, and you'll see slowly it all just comes together. Remember, like I mentioned before, you can just layer on the same colors and slightly darker ones, and this will go a long way in adding texture and depth to your drawing. The red is such a strong color that I don't want to add too much, so I'm just adding a few dots here or there just to give the impression of the leaves and add a little bit of texture. And now I'll go back with the darker brown and find those little bits of branches that I sketched in earlier and just add a little bit of shadow to them. Remember, it's just all dots and dashes, no straight lines, just the impression of a tree, an impression of shapes, an impression of leaves. Be loose, the reference is just that, a reference, so don't be afraid to add your own energy to the scene. The second step is to build structure. Here's where you'll use your pen to solidify the shapes and add structure to your sketch. Remember to be loose with your line work. My tendency is to always be rigid, and I have to constantly remind myself to relax and let the scene come together in its own time. No need to rush, no need to be exact, you're in charge here. Forget about the straight lines. Remember, it's just dots and dashes to create the impression of a shape. And now I'll use some dots to solidify the structure of the tree. No lines here, just dots and dashes. And I'll add this little hill in the background just to give the scene a little bit of context. But remember, dots and dashes. And the third and final step is to bring the scene to life by adding contrast. We'll be using white acrylics to add that little bit of pop that will complete your scene. Adding the darkest dark and lightest white will make a world of difference in your scene. Contrast will make any dull image way more vibrant and welcoming. dots and dashes here again. You don't want to overpower the scene with line work that's too dark or too white. And there you have it. Once again, those 3 steps are: 1. Create energy with your colors. 2. Build structure with your line work. And 3. Bring it to life with contrast. If you end up using this technique and you post that stuff online, give me a tag. I would love to see what you're drawing. Now, this approach can be used for many things outside of drawing trees. For example, window displays. Check out this video where I walk you through exactly that.